Remember, remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder, treason, and plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot.
Hello guys, I'm CBMF Productions, and welcome back to the DC Imprint Retrospective. Today's film is a female-led 70s crime thriller ensemble, The Kitchen. The film is based on the 2014 Vertigo comic by Ollie Masters and Ming Doyle of the same name. A few years after the release of the comic in 2017, Andrea Berloff, who has been an experienced writer in the past, writing and co-writing films like World Trade Center, Straight Outta Compton, Bloodfather, and Sleepless, she approached New Line Cinema with this concept and commissioned the script, which execs really liked her edgy and subversive perspective, and gave her the job as both writer and director, this being her directorial debut. Throughout 2017, the cast was selected and the film was shot around mid-2018. The film ended up finishing production and got released in the theaters in August 2019, and was a major critical and financial flop. Many audiences found the film too convoluted and boring, leaning to about word of mouth, and leaving the film with only a $16 million worldwide gross on a $38 million budget, not leaving it on the best notes. But did this film deserve the bashing it received from audiences and box office wise? Well, before we get into that, let's get into the plot. The film is set in Hell's Kitchen, New York in January 1978. Three Irish mobsters run their side of the city. There's Jimmy, played by Brian D'Arcy James, who is married to his wife Kathy, played by Melissa McCarthy, and has two kids, being the only family man of the group. Then there's Kevin, played by James Badge Dale, who has a rocky relationship with his wife Ruby, played by Tiffany Haddish, because of the tense relationship she has with their mother Helen, played by Margot Martindale, who doesn't trust her because of her race, and believes that she is feeding off his son because he runs the mob empire in their neighborhood. And lastly there's Drow, played by Jeremy Bobb, who beats his wife Claire, played by Elisabeth Moss. One night, the three men rob a liquor store for some money. Little do they know that they are being watched by two FBI agents, Gary, played by Common, and his partner Gonzalo, played by Egypt Manila. They catch the three men in the act. Immediately after, Helen puts her younger son, little Jackie, played by Mick Watford, in charge of operations and promises he will help the wives out with their financial situations, but he only gives them money for food, not enough for rent. They try asking Jackie for a little extra, but he screams at them to cherish what he gives them and tells them to leave. But not before they offer to work for Jackie. One of the goons slips to a couple of the places they've been going to, haven't been paying up the production fee, so the women go up to those places and manage to start getting paid by a couple of those small places. Then in a montage, we see the women managing to get the majority of the neighborhood underneath their wing, and even get a couple of Jackie's bodyguards to help them out, under the light that Jackie is okay with this. Once Jackie finds out, he tries to stop him by getting a couple of his goons to beat up the bodyguards, and then tries to rape Claire in an alleyway while taking out the trash, but gets shot at by Gabriel, an old acquaintance in Claire's played by Donald Gleason. With Jackie now out of the way, the women start to take control of the Irish mob from the inside, able to get a deal from the Jews from the neighborhood to get their neighbors' jobs, and with Gabriel being the enforcer and showing how to get rid of the bodies, the women go full force into the mob business over the next year or so. Eventually they grab attention of the Italian mob in Brooklyn, and maybe the head Alfonso Coretti, played by Bill Camp. He wants to cut a deal with them to share a property for a new 2 million square foot conglomerate that's being built, and wants the workers to have the same opportunities that people in Hell's Kitchen are getting from the women. He also offers them protection after he's able to make a dirty deal to get their husbands out of prison early in 4 months. They cut the deal and realize they need to tighten things up before their husbands come back. Ruby kills them while walking to a restaurant on a Monday night, only to realize that restaurants are open on Mondays as she pushes her off a staircase, killing the old bird, and the last member of Kevin's family left besides himself. Once the husbands get out of prison, they try to change things back to the way they were, but they realize quickly that the women are now head deep in the mob. So Kevin orders a hit on all three of them, and Coretti in return wants a hit on all the goons that work for them, that can side with their husbands. But Kathy doesn't want to hit on a couple of the younger kids for obvious reasons, and in the process, a bunch of characters get killed from Claire shooting her ex because she has fallen in love with Gabriel over the course of the film, as they taught her how to shoot, kill, and dispose of bodies. Ruby gets a hit on Kevin and he dies in his apartment off screen. All the goons that work for the woman earlier get killed, all on Gary's partner Gonzalo getting shot in the phone booth before he's about to reveal information of some kind. And one night while Claire and Gabriel is sleeping, one of the younger kids Kathy ordered not to kill tries to kill the both of them, but they shoot him first. But the bullets don't kill him immediately, as when Claire goes up to check the body, she gets shot in the head and Ruby and Gabriel blame Kathy for Claire's death, along with her father being very critical of her ranks in the mob and it not being an honest job. Jimmy tries to get Kathy to quit the mob or at least settle down, but despite all the counters that ensued, she has to keep on working. So in retaliation, Jimmy gets his kids and drives them out to Coretti's place in Brooklyn to cut a deal to get Kathy out of the mob, but because Kathy is paying Coretti and not Jimmy, along with having a lot more trust from him than he does for Jimmy, he kills Jimmy while Kathy is outside, but knows what happens. At the funeral, her father sees what she's built, and especially for what she's done for her kids, but shows that she did it for herself isn't stopping anytime soon. Then while Ruby and Kathy are talking about meetings on the sidewalk, it's revealed that Gary's actually a double agent, and that he and Ruby have been sleeping together, and that she kickstarted the whole setup with her husband husband's being arrested so she can lead, but needing help from an Irish woman because an African American woman couldn't have led it by herself, in her own words, and that Gary killed Gonzalo to keep the situation under wraps. Kathy and Ruby agree to meet in the butcher shop because the owner hasn't paid them in months supposedly, but when she gets there, it's a trap set by Ruby and Gabriel planning to kill her, but Kathy brought her dad and all the other workers which she gave jobs to as her own army to back her up. Gabriel quickly leaves, saying they only came out to Hell's Kitchen for Claire as he walks out, and Kathy and Ruby come to a reluctant partnership once again, as they both realize they need each other to run the mob as they walk down the sidewalk together as credits roll. This film has a stacked cast, like most of these DC Imprint films, and the actors are always one of the best things about these films that stay consistent, and this film is no exception. Whether you like the film or not, these actors do the best with the materials they're given. I think Tiffany Haddish here is the best I've seen her amongst the sea of comedies she's been in. Melissa McCarthy also shines here, and I wish she did more dramatic roles like this. Elisabeth has quickly built up a career for herself, with Handmaid's Tale, Us, The Invisible Man, and this. She's a damn good actress, and probably has the most human aspects of the film with her vulnerability, and her relationship with Donald Gleason as Gabriel, who also does really well in the film. And when she died, both times I've seen this film, it actually hit me really hard emotionally, because of how real the romance and chemistry was between these two actors and the tragedy it developed. Not to mention the production design is really well done, and the film makes you feel like you've been transported to a different time period. The film is a mostly smooth pace and keeps things going fairly quick. Some shots in the film I felt were very creative, like a lot of the overhead shots when the hits are being taken out over the various bodyguards that are part of the Irish mob towards the end, being really entertaining. And the gore on display all feels real with it being practical, and it buys me into the scenes that need it. Like when Donald Gleason is teaching the ladies how to dissolve a body in the bathtub. The little comedic moments like that throughout the film do something more into this world. And because the film was set in the 70s, the film is full of classic tunes and adds more flavor amongst the film's tones. And for a first-time director, I thought Andrea Berloff did a decent job with how she directed the actors and the shot composition, delivering a fairly well put together film, and I gotta give props for that. This film's plot is quite a train wreck, and the storytelling on screen is extremely sloppy. The biggest issue I have with the film, getting it out of the gate, is how we don't feel the progression of the story, of how these women are working their way up the ladder in the mob, and having to work with all the trials and tribulations. Instead we get one montage, 20 minutes into the film after the women meet up to exchange a deal with a couple people, and then all of a sudden they are rich and the most powerful people in Hell's Kitchen. I can't really take the story seriously, because I feel like chunks of the story are missing throughout the runtime. Like I fell asleep 20 minutes in and woke up half an hour later. The story feels so rushed so we can have a female empowerment message, that forgets that it's completely undermining that message by having these women face very little obstacles in the film, and whenever issues come up like Kathy's husband or father, or Common as a police detective or little Jackie, they take care of them in a matter of seconds, and it doesn't add any tension or weight to the narrative. Similar to the losers in the Red films, having these characters not be in peril doesn't make them more likable. Speaking of, the characters in the film, although are more fleshed out than the previous 3 films I covered in this retrospective, still aren't super investing, and we don't get many scenes of them developing or learning insight, apart from Elisabeth Moss, which is why she's my favorite character in the film, because the other 2 women are basically at an arm's distance. We know Kathy has kids, but they don't come into play in the story at all, until the very end. And Ruby, apart from one scene with her mom and her choice with Common, which makes absolutely no sense and is the most convenient thing on earth, how everything fell into place and how she wanted it, but back to my main point, we don't really get to know much about her, and when she starts turning meaner and angrier, it really just feels like it comes out of nowhere. It doesn't feel as natural as I think the filmmakers intended, and it makes the mistake of making every single woman apart from Helen as innocent and badass, and making every man apart from Donald Gleason seem like an over-the-top conniving villain that you can't take it seriously, especially with how heavy-handed all the dialogue is, to make you feel a certain way, questioning this was made for adults or babies, despite the R rating, along with how convoluted and stacked the film can be. Although it does manage to juggle quite a bit of subplots and keeps the flow relatively streamlined, there are characters like Common that add nothing and should have just been cut out. Not only would it make the film make more sense, removing that really stupid twist, with having all these pieces in the film fall perfectly into place, but so we can get more time with the main characters. If this film took its time, it could have been great, because the foundation is there. It's a cool concept, but the film, rather than showing the struggles along with the success and build up tension, it basically acts like the Mulan remake. Having these people be set up from the get-go and teach people how easy it is to take over the mob. It just feels like Warner Bros. Chopped half an hour off the film, because it immediately starts out with these women already having a bomb with one another, and with how they break up in the mob, it just makes the film feel slightly incomplete. And over the feel of the film, it feels like your average gangster film. Not much about it stands out to me, and although I can watch it okay, there's nothing in the film that really stuck with me or made me want to revisit it beyond this review. It's very serviceable because of how it skims over a lot of hardship, just to make it seem a lot more sleek and glossy than it actually is. And that's disappointing because the concept is there and can lead to a great drama, but the filmmakers didn't do much with it. And what we get in the end is just a mixed bag nobody's talked about since it came out a year ago. Overall, the kitchen is okay. It has solid acting, a great soundtrack and production design, a smooth pace, some good direction from the first-time director. It has an intriguing concept that does show its potential sometimes, but the film doesn't really have a good story. It rushes and skims over the most interesting parts of the story, just to make it seem like these women are stronger and cannot be defeated, derailing the whole female empowerment message the film is going for. Not much characterization, and overall just feels like a knockoff Scorsese film that has pieces missing from it. I mostly enjoy the parts that we do get in the film, and I fully believe there's a lot of footage on the cutting room floor for this film that can fix this film's mistakes if you ever get a Zack Snyder style cut of the kitchen for HBO Max or something like that, and and I would be down for it. But what we have, it's something that I'm not personally offended by, despite my rambling and the negatives earlier. It's a very watchable film that I enjoy enough, and I was invested enough in, and I want to see what happened next. But it's just a film that didn't really stick with me a lot after the credits rolled. I give The Kitchen a C+, a 6 out of 10, and a stream it recommendation. So that's The Kitchen. What do you guys think about it? Leave your thoughts down in the comments, and please don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. I'm CBMF Productions, and remember, the past can't hurt you anymore unless you let it.